Okay, so part 3, we have our Tablecenter. It's beautifully green. We have our candles. Now it's time to add our accessories and our flowers. So today we're going to start with our pine cones and our ribbon tails. So we have 2 ribbon tails, and they are wired onto some nice wood picks. This is a pretty poinsettia ribbon. And I'm going to use these on diagonals on either side. So you're just going to simply insert in a location that you're happy with. Wired ribbon is great to use because it gives you some flexibility to bend it and work with it. This recipe also calls for 5 pine cones. So we have our pine cones on picks. They're on a wire pick. I'm going to trim them just a little with my snips. Just going to be a little too long, I think. I'm going to put the lower ones, or excuse me, the larger ones lower as a focal and a grouping. When we're doing design, we always like to have the larger items lower to ground them. Just make sure they're securely in there. Now we're going to turn. Same on the other side. That's going to leave us with 1 extra pine cone, which I'm going to hold off on using until we've completed all of our flowers. Today we have our recipe that calls for 3 red roses. This is a beautiful hearts rose. So when we're cutting our flowers, the same thing applies for our stems going in. We'd like a smooth surface. We're going to want to make sure that at least this much, which I think is 1 inch, is going to get inserted into the oasis. And with the fresh flowers, it's really pivotal that we don't pull them out and press them back in again. We want to make sure we put them in, get them into the oasis, and let them stay without adjusting them. If you want to take it out, if you're not happy with where it is, that's totally fine. Just take it out, give it a fresh cut, and then place it into the oasis. So I'm using 3 red roses. So I'm going to place them equidistant from one another. If you are using a knife, you can cut your stems on an angle. That is great. If you have snips, you can cut your stems on an angle also. What that does is create a larger surface area for the roses to soak up the water. Okay, just give it a quick turn so you can see. This arrangement also calls for 3 full-size carnations. Carnations here, very long-lasting. I'm going to place those opposite my roses. And then we have 2 stems of mini carnations, which are quite branched. So what I'm going to do is pull apart all of these small stems. And I'm going to leave this one long one. I'm going to do that to both of the stems. I'm going to leave my one long one. So I'm going to use these smaller ones in amongst, and I'm going to save the 2 that are longer for my ends. Now this will just sort of vary depending on your stem of mini carn. Sometimes you'll end up with 4 blooms, sometimes 3 blooms, a bud. Sort of, you're never really sure what you're going to get. Sometimes they're really quite branched, other times they're not branched at all. I'm just going to place these shorter ones on both sides of the candles. Give that a spin. spin. Just filling in amongst the holiday greens. And then I'm going to use the last two, which have the longest branch on them, to define the ends of my table center to create that length. They can get a little fragile, so if you try to insert and you hit a holiday stem, you might have to recut. It's okay. So I'm going to keep these ones quite a bit longer and use them at the very end of the table center. And I'm going to match that. Side. And there we go. Finished table center. At this point, if you have any extra greens, have a look. If you see any holes, or if you're not happy with the balance of something, go ahead and fill that. And then we also have one pine cone left. I see a couple holes in mine. I'm going to just add a bit of pine. Okay. Give it a spin, and then I'm going to use my last cone right over here behind this rose. There you go. Complete. All it needs now is to be right in the middle of the table and lit. I hope you enjoyed this little lesson. You can always contact us at Flowers by Destiny if you have any questions. And I wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Thank you.